Trying to figure out which launch monitor to buy is one of the trickiest decisions when it comes to golf accessories. There's so many different models at so many different price points, and everyone has different features and capabilities and pros and cons. There is no perfect device. But today, I'm going to rank what I think are the best indoor golf launch monitors under $10,000. In previous videos, I've talked more broadly about these units as a whole, their versatility for going indoors and outdoors. So today, we're assuming you're just setting up a golf simulator at home or hitting into a net in your garage. Regardless of what it is, these are my picks for the best indoor launch monitors currently on the market. Now, there are a few caveats here before we get into it. I have not included any overhead launch monitors for one very important reason, and that is I haven't tested any. I don't have a great spot to personally set up a great unit. So if you're looking to build a high-end simulator, you've got high ceilings, and you have no need to take this launch monitor outside or to the range, then you might want to consider an overhead model. But just know that I didn't include these here. Also, like I said, this is for under $10,000. So we're not talking about TrackMan, we're not talking about GC Quad, we're not talking FlightScope X3C. Those are all more professional setups. And that's not to say that some of these ones I talk about aren't very professional and have great results. That's just a little bit outside the scope of this video. With this list, I'm also taking into account price and value. So it's not just straight which ones perform the best top to bottom, but it's really which ones perform the best top to bottom while taking into account how much they cost and the value you get out of them. Okay, at number 10, we have a product you may not have heard of, and it is the GolfZone Wave. So GolfZone is known for their big professional simulator setups that cost tens of thousands of dollars. The Wave is their at-home launch monitor and simulator setup, and instead of tens of thousands of dollars, it's still not cheap for this type of product at $4,000. There are a couple reasons why it comes in at number 10 on this list. First, the big reason it made this list at all is because of its putting sensor. If you're looking for a simulator with a great putting setup for simulated golf, the GolfZone Wave is one of the best out there because it comes with a special infrared putting mat that gives you really accurate results when it comes to putts. Along with that, I've actually found the software to be better than I expected and pretty good, but there's a couple reasons why it only comes in at number 10. One, at $4,000, it's expensive. Two, information about this product has been increasingly scarce. There have been some recent updates that have made it a little bit more accurate and allowed to use RCT balls, but honestly, just trying to buy this thing, like if you go to the GolfZone website, it's not clear how exactly you do it. So I've got questions of whether or not it's maybe being discontinued, or if GolfZone is really taking the future of the Wave seriously. So because of that, because it is expensive and because I have no idea what the support of the company is going to look like moving forward, putting it at number 10 is the best I can do. Also, because it's primarily a Doppler unit, it needs a pretty significant amount of space to be able to use it. You're looking at like 6.5 to 8 feet behind, as well as 8 feet in front of you. And if you've got a smaller space indoors, then this is a unit that's just not going to be for you. At number 9, we have the VoiceCaddie SC4 Pro, which you can pick up for $499 using the special link below. I've honestly been really impressed with this device. It's a definite step up from the original SC4 that came out a few years ago. Specifically, the software capabilities are much better. Using the app and using the software is a much better experience than it used to be. And so at $499, you're really getting a lot. It comes with a built-in remote, it comes with a built-in screen, it comes with some basic simulator access for E6, and doing all of that at $500 is pretty good. It's not going to be as accurate as most of the other devices on this list, but it also doesn't need as much space as some other Doppler units. You can get away with only having 4 to 7 feet behind you, but you do need 10 feet in front of you. So 4 and 10, so 14 feet total. That's on the smaller side for a Doppler unit, but still compared to an optical unit, it's going to need a little bit more space. But at $500 for those features and the versatility that you're going to get by being able to take it outside, that's why it comes in at number 9 on this list. Okay, number 8, this one might be a little controversial. That is the Bushnell LPI. So earlier this year, Bushnell and Foresight completely changed up their launch monitor lineup. And what happened was some of their products got a lot better, the GC3, GC3S, and some of their products got a lot worse, namely the Bushnell. So the Bushnell Launch Pro used to be not only one of the best value launch monitors under $10,000, it was just one of the best, period. It is a very, very accurate unit. But what Bushnell did was they essentially decided to kind of neuter the Launch Pro and turn it into the LPI. So the LPI now retails for $2,800, whereas the cheapest Launch Pro used to be $1,999. There's no longer a built-in screen. It can only be used indoors, and you still need the $500 subscription to be able to use any of its software features. So while I really do like the Foresight software, and it's a really accurate unit, the fact that the product got more expensive and less versatile just felt like kind of a slap in the face. I thought the Launch Pro was positioned so well to be able to get the ball data version for $2,000 or the full club data version for $3,500, and you still need the subscription. Like, that's a little bit of a pain. But the fact you could get it for those prices, you could use it indoors, outdoors, it had the built-in screen, it was great. The LPI, I just have a tougher time getting behind. But it still is a solid, accurate unit. There are just those downsides I talked about. Two things to keep in mind with this. One, we have recently seen the LPI drop in price from $2,800 down to $1,500. At $1,500, I would put this higher on the list if I thought it was going to stay that price. But because it's been at $1,500 for most of the month of July, I would expect we're probably going to see that price again in the future. May not be till Black Friday, but if you can find the LPI at $1,500, that's definitely a good deal. The other caveat is that you can still find the Launch Pros for sale. You can find the ball-only version for under $2,000, and you can find the club data enabled version. I've seen it for under $3,000. So most of the time, if a product was discontinued, I wouldn't recommend it. But in this case, because it uses the exact same software as the LPI and as the Foresight GC3, and it's essentially still the exact same hardware as the GC3, I think this does represent one of the best values out there. So I'm not going to split it up. You're not going to see the Launch Pro later in this video, but just know that if you're willing to roll the dice a little bit and you find one of those on sale, I still think that is one of the best options out there. And if you find an LPI for $1,500 versus $2,800, that is also a very good deal. Hey, two quick things. One thing you should know, if you click any of the links below, if you buy these products, I will get a commission. If you think that makes me biased, totally understand, go do your own research. But everything I do here at Breaking 80 is just to help you find the best products for your needs. Second, with most of these products, I recommend you check out playbetter.com. I've had a wonderful experience with them. You've got 2-day shipping, 30-day returns, and they have just about every product you can want. Some of these products might be better to buy in different places, just depending on some of the discounts that are out there. So when you're looking at the links below, I'm gonna include the link that I think is going to be the best fit for each product. But for most of these products, I've had a wonderful experience with PlayBetter, and I think that's the best place to pick it up. All right, with that, back to the list. Okay, number 7 is the SkyTrack Plus. I'm not gonna lie, I really like the SkyTrack Plus. It has both optical and Doppler radar capabilities, but the way it sits more like a traditional optical unit, so it doesn't need a whole lot of space, which makes it great for using indoors. If you're more of a casual user and you value fun and experience and usability over like the actual absolute most accurate thing out there, I think the SkyTrack is a wonderful choice. Saying that, compared to some of the other launch monitors I've tested, I have found the SkyTrack Plus to give me more variable results in terms of accuracy, but for the most part, it works really well, and in non-professional settings, I would have no issues with it. Now, while that is a drawback, the benefit is that the user experience is second to none. I love the interface of using the SkyTrack. I love the different modes, like the wedge matrix and the club gapping. Like, everything just works really well. And this could be one of the biggest selling points for some of you, it is the only launch monitor on this list that works with a Mac. So if you're someone who's in the Mac ecosystem and you want a proper golf simulator setup, but you don't want to have to buy a separate gaming PC, SkyTrack is the only one that has a dedicated Mac app for their first-party golf simulator solution. And honestly, it works really well. I really like playing courses using the SkyTrack software. Everything looks good, and the software actually ran better on my MacBook Pro than I expected it to. So with the SkyTrack, you're getting the flexibility of being able to use a Mac, you're getting a great user interface, you're getting really solid simulator solutions, and it comes in $3,000 retail. I've seen it on sale a ton recently for $2,500, but I've even seen it as low as $2,000. So at $2,000, that is a really killer value, just knowing that it might not be as accurate and as reliable as some other units out there. And a big one is it doesn't have angle of attack. So I know that's a metric that a lot of people want, and they've been saying that they're going to release it and add it via a firmware update for years, but as far as I know, they have yet to do that. The only other thing to note about the SkyTrack Plus is if you want all the full practice capabilities, you're gonna have to spend $130 a year on the subscription to do so. And if you want the full simulator capabilities, then that subscription is $250. So yes, it's a lot of money, but it's definitely not as much as Foresight. And I think it's mostly a pretty good value for what you get. All right, at number 6, we have the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro. And honestly, you could put this higher. This is a product that continues to get better. Rapsodo is really investing a lot in this product. It's $699 with a $199 a year subscription, and you pretty much need that subscription to do just about anything. And the fact that subscription was so high relative to the cost of the unit always gave me a little bit of pause. But here's the thing, they listened to their users. They realized this was a deal breaker for a lot of people. So for an additional $500, you could get lifetime access. So for $1,200, you can get the Rapsodo unit with no subscription, and that is a pretty killer value. With Rapsodo, you're getting a Doppler unit that also has 2 high-speed cameras built in. So if you're hitting indoors, you can use Rapsodo balls, and that high-speed camera is going to track the ball, and it's going to give you a more accurate spin number. So actually, the spin data on the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro is more accurate when you're using it indoors versus when you're using it outside on the range. Over the last year, they've continued to update the app and make it even better, and there was also a recent firmware update that added angle of attack. So this is one of the biggest metrics that most people want, and the fact that they added it after the fact for no additional cost is really cool to see. I have had some occasional connectivity issues with my device, but for the most part, it's pretty few and far between, and every time I just reset it and it ends up working properly. The one thing that I will note is that while the app is great and they've improved it and there are a lot of great modes, it does feel a little bit more consumer focused. I personally like something that's a little bit more robust, a little bit more professional, allows me to do a little bit more with my data, and while it's gotten better, Rapsodo still falls a little bit behind compared to some other brands when it comes to that specifically. Also, I gotta mention that while it does have those cameras, it is primarily a Doppler unit, so you're gonna need to put it 7 to 8 feet behind the ball and give you at least 8 feet in front of the ball. So this is one that does take up a little bit more space, but it is such a good value and they've been improving it so much that at this price point, I think it is an excellent option for a lot of people, especially if you're someone who wants a device you can also take to the range, because then that's really going to add to the flexibility of this unit. All right, at number 5, and I had a really hard time figuring out where to put this on the list. It was anywhere from like number 3 to number 8. And so this is gonna kind of come down to what you need and what you value, but this is kind of where I landed with it, and that is the FlightScope Mevo Plus. So if you've watched any of my launch monitor videos, you know that for me, I think the FlightScope Mevo Plus is the best overall launch monitor out there. When you talk about what you get, no subscription, price, performance, value, features, all of the stuff, I think it is phenomenal. But since this list we're talking specifically about indoor use, it is not quite as good specifically solely for indoor use as some other products, and I'm gonna tell you why. So first off, like some of the other units that are on the back half of this list, it is a Doppler device, so it does need more space. So you're gonna need 8 feet behind you, 8 feet in front of you, so you need 16 feet at minimum of total space, and that's just gonna rule this out as an option for a lot of people. It does have a built-in camera that they use for their proprietary fusion tracking software, which marries the camera and the Doppler radar to give you more accurate results. They don't have that specific second high-speed camera that the Rapsodo has to give you more accurate spin results, so that's a little bit of a bummer, especially considering the Rapsodo is cheaper. But I will say I have found spin numbers with my Mevo Plus to be very good across the board, whether you're using it indoors or outdoors. So honestly, the big reason this is not higher on the list is because it takes up so much space, and also when you're indoors or hitting into a net and you're chipping and putting, you might start to find the results are a little bit more variable. I've heard from a lot of Mevo Plus users that they've had trouble getting it to recognize chips when you're hitting into a net and you have very short space in order to do it. I haven't personally run into those issues as much, but I've heard that critique enough that I know that it's an issue for some people. Also, if you've got a lot of metal around you, so if you're thinking about putting this out in like a pole barn or a metal shed or something like that, that can mess with the radar a little bit and it can throw off some of your numbers. So those are really my only major critiques with the Mevo Plus. With the recent update, they've improved their connection capabilities, so it's a lot easier to establish a connection as well as access Wi-Fi on, say, your iPad while still connecting to the device itself. That was a huge update. There's also no subscription. You get an insane amount of data. You get like every metric you could ever want. You've got software that is very professional feeling. You can customize your data and view your data in so many different ways that even though some of the aesthetics are starting to feel a little bit dated compared to some other brands, the ease and ability to view and customize your data however you want makes it more than worth that trade-off. It's also very small, very portable. You can take it anywhere. So if you are looking for a device you can use outside, but it's at number 5 specifically because we're talking about indoor use. You can pick up a base Mevo Plus for around $17.50 after discounts. You can use the coupon code BREAKING80+. It's gonna knock an additional 5% off whatever sale price they have going. You can also add the Pro package with impact detection. And if you do that, you're coming in around like $2,600, but that's going to give you more data than any other launch monitor on this list. And I think it gives you more data than any launch monitor under $10,000. Because with that, you can get impact detection, which is a feature that you really only see on the most professional systems out there. And honestly, it works really well. So I am a huge fan of the Mevo Plus. If it fits your needs, it is still my overall best recommendation. But if you're looking for just an indoor launch monitor, especially one where you're going to have limited space, then there's probably gonna be some better options for you. All right, coming in at number 4 is the Garmin R50. I love this thing. And if you are looking for a permanent indoor setup, I think this is one of the best options there is. First off, it is the only launch monitor on this list that has a simulator built in. You can use the Garmin Home T Hero software directly on the giant screen that's included on this launch monitor, or you can project it onto whatever screen you're using. It's not like a full, super realistic simulator experience, but it's like simulator light. And what's cool about it is you can play like over 40,000 different courses. So no matter what course you want to play, you can do it on the R50. You can also very easily customize what you see on the screen. The R50, I think, is probably my favorite launch monitor to actually use, just because the screen is so good, it's so customizable, it's got built-in cameras that allow you to see impact, you can customize what you see on the screen versus what you see on the unit itself. So if you want to play simulated golf on the screen and still get all your club data and metrics on the unit itself, you can do that. It's honestly a great device and probably the easiest of all of these to set up and use. You do get the added benefit that it also works outside, so you can take it to the range if you want. The downside I have with the R50 is kind of twofold. One, at $5,000, it is an expensive unit. You do not need to spend that much to get a good professional experience, but you do get what you pay for, and the R50 is really good. Two, and this is probably the bigger downside, is the Garmin software is not great. So the Garmin Golf app on your iPad or on your phone is really pretty minimal. It's pretty bare bones. And so I was hoping that was going to get a big overhaul and a big update when the R50 came out. And unfortunately, it just didn't. It really just got very minor updates that allow it to work with the R50. So if you're someone who wants to take all your data and analyze it and compare sessions and track and really customize everything, you're just not able to do that with the R50 very well. That being said, if you're just looking for the easiest way to play simulated golf at home with your friends, with your family, with your kids, the R50 is it. It's super plug and play, it's super easy to set up, using it is a joy, but because it lacks those app capabilities and it's very expensive, that might make it a deal breaker for some people. Okay. We are into the home stretch. We are at number 3. And I will say with these 3, they all got rearranged. Every single one of them was either 1, 2, or 3 at some point. And so there might be some people that disagree with this, but I'm gonna give you my reasons for why they are where they are. So coming in at number 3, we have the Unicore iMini / iMini Lite. When I'm thinking about this, I really think the iMini Lite is the right value if we're talking just indoor setup. Basically, the iMini Lite is $2,700. The iMini is $4,500. The iMini you can use outdoors and it has a built-in screen. The iMini Lite you can only use indoors and it doesn't have a built-in screen. For the most part, those are the only 2 major differences. So if you're looking for a permanent indoor setup that has world-class software, then I think the iMini Lite is one of the best values out there. The downside with it, it is definitely the most technical to set up. I've had the most issues setting up the Unicore products with my gaming PC when compared to any other products out there, but once you get it, it works really well. I found both of these Unicore products to be extremely accurate. When put directly up against a TrackMan, all of the numbers have been very similar. And the more I use the Unicore View software, the more I love it. From a driving range and data and analytics perspective, it's probably second to the FlightScope Mevo Plus in terms of the software I like. SkyTrack wins for usability, fun experience, but when it comes to customizing data and doing that in a friendly way that I enjoy using, the Unicore product is really, really good. On top of that, if you want to spend a little bit more money, you can get their Swing Optics cameras that you can set up behind you and to the side of you, and you can get an unbelievable amount of data about your golf swing directly in the app. And having the dedicated cameras from Unicore, despite the fact it's a pretty expensive system, definitely works better than other products that use cameras that are built in or use like mobile devices for multicam capture. Unicore has also gotten even better from a simulator standpoint. Yes, you can use a lot of third-party software like GS Pro, but their original in-house simulator software, Refine, was pretty bad. It was not great. I didn't like it. They have more recently released Game Day, which is a significant upgrade, but I have found unless you have a really powerful gaming PC, it can be a little choppy and a little bit more difficult to run, and it still isn't quite as good as the simulator experience you get with some other brands. That being said, everything you get with the Unicore iMini Lite, from world-class software, extremely accurate results, great user experience, I've found to be really good. And when I first reviewed the iMini, I thought it was really solid, but the more I've used these devices and the more I've used the Unicore software, the more impressed I've become, which has bumped it up to near the top of this list. All right, now at number 2, this is without a doubt the best value in terms of an optical indoor launch monitor, and that is the Square. So the Square is the only optical launch monitor under $1,000. For $699 and no subscription, you've got an optical launch monitor that is honestly pretty damn accurate. I was very impressed with the Square. And out of every launch monitor I've ever reviewed, there is no doubt that the Square has the most dedicated fan base based on the comments I've received on previous videos. I'll just say this right now. If you're looking for a budget launch monitor under $1,000 to be able to play simulated golf on at home, this is probably the one you should go and get. Because all of the other ones in this price range are Doppler units, they take up more space, and so it's just gonna be a deal breaker for a lot of people. But the fact this is an optical unit at that price point and that it overall works really well and gives you pretty accurate numbers, that right there is enough to say, that's the one you should go and get. So from a value perspective for what you get for an indoor launch monitor, this is probably number one. And that's why for a while I had this as my number one overall pick. But when you start thinking about what you get and the experience I have with the other products that are above it, that's why I bumped it down a little bit. Because despite being a great value, that doesn't mean it's perfect. The built-in software is fine, it's pretty good, it gives you accurate numbers, but it's not great. I really don't like the fact that the app doesn't really give you a good way to save data. You can export your sessions to a CSV and look at data that way, but why that isn't built into the app is beyond me. This is similar to what I was saying with the R50. If you're someone who likes to go in and really tweak all your data and look at everything and compare and contrast past sessions, it's more difficult to do with the Square than I think it should be. Build quality of the Square is not great. It really feels like cheap plastic. Out of all the products on this list, it's probably the one that feels the cheapest, but again, it performs well, so you really can't complain too much. The Square is also the only one that comes with a swing stick. So if you are someone that does not have space to set up a simulator, there's a stick you can use that allows you to swing full shots even if you have low ceilings, and it doesn't really feel like you're hitting a golf ball. Actually, for me, I found it kind of screwed up my swing a little bit, but if you don't have space for a net at all, you can play a round of simulated golf using the swing stick, and you can get club path data using the swing stick, which is really pretty interesting. And so in my initial review, I talked about how I thought this was gimmicky and it shouldn't have been included, and I heard from so many people that loved this. They loved the fact they could take the Square and the swing stick to a hotel room and play with their friends. They loved the fact that they lived in an apartment with no space, and this was the only way they could actually play simulated golf. So I shot a follow-up video talking about how, I was wrong. There are use cases for a specific person, but your mileage may vary depending on what you're looking for. So the Square at $699 represents an excellent value. It's pretty accurate. But keep in mind, you can only use it inside. It's not meant for outdoor use. You have to buy credits to play simulated golf on their built-in system. For most people, it's going to be cheaper to do it this way than it is to have a subscription like most other companies have. Build quality, not the best, but it does the basic things you need it to do really well. Give you pretty accurate numbers, allow you to play simulated golf, and do it at a price point that no one else can touch. Okay, and at number one, the best indoor launch monitor, and I still am going back and forth on all of these, really the top five. So many of these can be kind of mixed and matched. But right now, I'm going with the Foresight GC3S/GC3. So there's a few reasons for why I've chosen this. First off, for the average person, I think this is probably the most accurate unit on this list. It's essentially a GC Quad with one less camera, but when I've used them back to back, the results have been extremely similar. So with all of these launch monitors, the GC3 really is the one that I tend to trust the most. So if you're someone where accuracy and reliability really matter, this is going to be a great unit for you. I also really do like the fact it has the built-in screen. It's nowhere near as good as the built-in screen on the R50, but it does add some versatility to when you're using it indoors. Because Foresight's been around so long, and because the GC3 has been around for so long, they've really got everything dialed. You can use it with all sorts of different third-party products, and FSX Play is my personal favorite simulator software. It looks absolutely stunning, and playing Pebble Beach using the software, I've just found to be so much fun. The value for this gets even better in the sense that if you buy both of these units, you're also getting a Bushnell Pro X3 Link along with it. That is a $600 rangefinder that honestly is one of, if not the best rangefinders on the market. So I know this is about indoor golf, but the value of getting that really does add to the appeal of this product. Not to mention the versatility, because this is an excellent product that you can also take out to the range and use outdoors. So I know we're talking specifically about indoor use here, but you can't deny that added value and that extra bonus. It's definitely worth mentioning. But like I said, none of these products are perfect, and there are some drawbacks to even this one, which overall gets my pick for best indoor golf launch monitor, but I don't love the iPad software. FSX Pro Honestly, it's not the most user-friendly. You can do a whole lot with it. You can customize it. It is a pro-level system, but it's definitely one that has a little bit more of a learning curve. I don't think this is gonna be a big deal for most people because once you get familiar with it, it's really not that big of a deal. I just personally prefer using the iPad software for some of these other products. The other major downside comes in pricing. I mentioned how I felt like this is the most accurate of all of these launch monitors. Well, here's the problem. That accuracy comes with a price. So the GC3S is $3,800. It comes with that free rangefinder, but you still have to pay the $500 a year subscription to be able to use any of the Foresight software. So even if you just want to use the basic range in FSX Pro, you still got to pay $500 a year, and that is going to be a huge deal breaker for some people, so much so that I'm kind of questioning whether or not I really should have made this my overall pick, but I do think the value and what you get and the accuracy that comes with it does make this worthwhile. If you don't like the idea of the subscription, well, then you can go get the GC3, which has no subscription. It's the exact same thing as the GC3S. The only difference is how it's priced. So with the GC3S, you have a lower upfront price and a subscription. With the GC3, you pay $7,000, but then you have no subscription. So yeah, seven grand. That's a lot of money. But when you look at a GC Quad that's gonna be pushing close to 20 grand and you're getting like 90%, 95% of the value of that GC Quad, it starts to look a little bit better. So this is one that definitely fits into more of the professional category. It's very reliable. The numbers are good. The FSX simulator software is excellent. And it's super versatile if you want to be able to take it outside. So really has a lot going for it, but there are some big drawbacks that mean it's absolutely not going to be for some of you. That's kind of the case with this entire list. It's honestly tough to rank these because it really depends on what you're looking for. Your list might be the exact opposite of mine. So all I can do is give you my experience and give you a little bit of justification for why I've put each one where they are. So with that, that's my list. Reluctantly, I want to know where you would put these. I know that there's going to be some people that think I'm spot on and a lot of people that think I'm way off base, but I'd love to have a conversation. I'd love to have your reasons for why you would rank these differently or what your favorite launch monitor is and why you've had such a good experience. So with that, my name's Sean Ogle. I'm the founder of this thing here at Breaking 80, where we talk about cool golf products and cool golf courses. If you got some value out of this, maybe consider hitting the subscribe button, drop a comment, leave a thumbs up, all those things. And if you want to know what my favorite overall launch monitors, not for indoor use, just generally speaking, you can go watch this video right here. I think you're really going to like it. And with that, I hope you have an excellent day, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.